Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us in this great celebration of ours. It is the 125th anniversary, this very day, 4th of March, 1898. Our Mother Foundress received the approbation, which was the permission from the Archbishop of Paris to begin our new little congregation, Adorers of the Sacred Heart of Jesus of Montmartre, Order of Saint Benedict. And here on the wall you can see a copy of the original document, and on the perhaps when there's no cake here, you can see the signature of our foundress, Mother Maria del Garnier, who is a servant of God. I am just going to read an account that's from our archives on how our congregation was approved in 4th of March 1898. And this account comes from Père Lamius, or Father Lamius, who was then acting as a spiritual director to our congregation. Father Lamius himself recounted his first and memorable interview with Cardinal Richard, who was the Archbishop of Paris, to discuss the work of Maria Del. No sooner had he set out for the Archbishop's house in a cab than he began to feel agitated and upset. Now, a cab in those days was driven by horses, in a way he had rarely experienced. All hell seemed to be swirling around him, and to such an extent that he instinctively opened the door of the cab a little, as though he were afraid there was going to be an accident. On arrival, he experienced a real sense of relief when his feet were safely on the pavement. But at the same time, a mocking voice told him interiorly that he would be the laughingstock of the cardinal. It was even worse when I was introduced into the cardinal's study. Quote, His Eminence, habitually so gentle and paternal, received me quite coldly. Having told me to sit down, the cardinal began turning over page after page of the documents on his desk, searching apparently in vain for the papers he wanted. At last he said, Why have you come? I have come, Your Eminence, about one of the most important matters that I have ever had to deal with. But if Your Eminence is willing, I should prefer to wait until you are less preoccupied. Speak, was the rather sharp reply. I continued to speak, and the cardinal continued to search his desk. I wondered whether perhaps after all it was not the will of God that this interview should succeed. Eminence, it is extremely difficult for me to explain like this. The cardinal replied, Continue. Suddenly, in the middle of his search for the still missing document, the cardinal stopped dead. For a moment he stood immovable, his gaze towards heaven. Then he sank into an armchair, his head resting on his hand, his eyes closed, and his face became radiant. There he remained absorbed as though in an ecstasy. At each sentence he replied with a prolonged, Yes, yes, uttered in a very low voice. When Father Lamius had concluded, the cardinal remained for a few minutes absorbed in deep recollection. When he raised his eyes, they mirrored profound admiration, and he said, "That, my son, is of the good God. Be most attentive to the divine will. Tell your daughters that I approve the little group at Montmartre. As to you, follow carefully the progress of this newborn community." He went on to say that he would give them immediately an ecclesiastical superior. A few names of religious in Paris were mentioned, but then after reflection, he went back on them all. "No," he said, "it must not be a religious. He might bring in the particular spirit of his own order. Our Lord wants to do something quite special here. My secretary, Monsieur l'Abbé Lefebvre, shall be their superior. In this way, he will be able to keep me well informed of everything. I want to follow up very closely this beautiful work of the Sacred Heart." Our Reverend Mother Agnes, our co-foundress, continues the account in her souvenirs. Père Lamius sent for our mother, that's Mother Foundress, Maria del Garnier, and told her of all that had passed. When our mother returned to Nazareth, which was the name of their little convent at the time, it was just a one room with maybe a kitchen and just another spare room. The happiness imprinted on her countenance showed us that she brought some good news with her. However, we had no idea of what she was going to tell us. "My dear children," she said, "get the books ready. We are going to sing the Te Deum," which we just sang in Mass. Mère Saint Jean wrote in her notes, "Impatience was restrained by the canticle of thanksgiving, which was sung with deep gratitude. When it was finished, we were all moved without knowing what had happened. No question passed our lips. We waited for our mother to speak. It seemed that we were in a dream as we listened to her. The Cardinal approved of us, encouraged us, would become a father to us. It was the Church adopting us as a new family. We were greatly impressed, thinking of the infinite goodness of the Sacred Heart towards us. Was it not He who had prepared everything and done everything? Would He not still do all, and must He not do all later on?" A few days afterwards, the official act of the foundation, dated March 4th, 1898, Feast of the Holy Lance and Nails, arrived from Archbishop's House. It is then, from March 4th, 1898, that the official foundation of our congregation dates, and the Feast of the Holy Lance and Nails became so dear to us. Now I'm going to invite all my sisters up here.